Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We just got the result between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira, and it was honestly not the result that I wanted, and it wasn't the result that I was expecting. I did expect Alex Pereira to have a much better performance against someone like Magomed Ankalaev. We all expected Magomed Ankalaev to try to go ahead and mix it up, try to mix up some striking, and try to mix up some wrestling, which is exactly what he did. In terms of the striking department, I expected way more from Alex Pereira, but I I always forget. I always forget that in MMA things are just not as polished as other sports, and it's a big thing that just needs to go ahead and be mentioned, especially in this video, because I think one of the main reasons that held back Alex Pereira in this fight was not the fact that he wasn't pressuring, or it wasn't the fact that he wasn't trying. I think that plain and simply Alex Pereira just doesn't know how to fight against southpaws, and I think that was pretty evident with the fact that Khalil Roundtree, a guy that was ranked number 8, number 9, whenever he fought Alex Pereira, had some pretty decent rounds against the quote unquote most dangerous striker in the entire organization. Now we're gonna go ahead and get into that. There's gonna be a whole lot of concepts and a whole lot of definitions that I'm gonna go ahead and break down for you guys, and I think that this is a learning moment for everybody, so everybody could just understand the sport to a higher degree. Now, I'm not a professional coach. I am not, I don't have any trained fighters. I haven't had a professional bout, but this is just a little bit of what I think, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So I think that the main thing that Alex Pereira failed to do in this matchup was to faint, was to literally faint. The main thing that made Magomed Ankalaev so successful in this fight was making Alex Pereira just come forward, making him come forward. And you guys have to understand that the open stance and the closed stance are two completely different games. You cannot approach the open stance and the closed stance the same way. And what is that? The open stance, ladies and gentlemen, is whenever you have an orthodox fighter with a southpaw. That is an open stance fight. The lead hands are right in front of each other, the lead legs are right in front of each other, and it's just overall a much more complicated way of approaching the 50-50. It's not the same way as a close stance whenever you guys see two conventional fighters or two southpaw fighters standing right in front of each other. It is literally not the same thing. Unfortunately, Alex Pereira wasn't able to figure out Magomed Ankalaev until later on in the round. But we're going to go ahead and get into that in a little bit. Before, let's just talk about the positioning between an open stance and a closed stance. Usually, 8 out of 10 times, whoever is in the countering position in the open stance is usually in the dominant position, because in order for you to pretty much commit or make your opponent commit to a punch, which is their vulnerable position, they have to throw with 100% certainty, with the complete intent to try to land. And that's something that pretty much Magomed Ankalaev was trying to bait Alex Pereira to do, although Alex Pereira really didn't do too much of that. What he did, was make fundamental mistakes, like just pressing the fight against a southpaw, pretty much just walking into strikes. Multiple times we saw in this matchup that Alex Pereira was just walking forward, and he was just straight up walking into teeps, straight up walking into push kicks. And in my brain, I was just like, bro, disengage. You have the 50-50. You have all the space in the freaking octagon. There has to be a better way to use macro positioning in order to bait Magomed Ankalaev to come forward, because as we all know, Alex Pereira's bread and butter is counters. But since this is an open stance fight, what Alex Pereira should have done was feint to get Magomed Ankalaev to be to throw some counters and pretty much counter off the counter. It was going to be a super complicated fight nonetheless. It was going to be a super complicated fight because we know that Alex Pereira is a guy that just works great off counters from the orthodox position. But like I said, trying to use those same offensive schemes in the open stance just wasn't going to work. Case in point, Khalil Roundtree last year having some decent very decent positional advantages over, like I said, Alex Pereira. Now, the main thing that Alex Pereira needs to do in the next matchup, because I do think he is going to get an immediate rematch, is feint. He needs to feint, and he needs to take his goddamn time. He needs to not press all the freaking time. And I know there's people out there that were saying, "Oh, Alex Pereira's in the retreat." Ladies and gentlemen, multiple times throughout the round, we know that Alex Pereira was pressuring. How do we know that? Because Alex Pereira was walking forward. Whenever you are walking forward, that is a sign of pressure, because that means that you are looking to land. All Magomed Ankalaev had to do was literally take a step back and get Alex Pereira to walk into something, and it's something that we saw Magomedov do over and over again. Now, here is the crazy thing. Alex Pereira was going left literally the entire fight, and for some reason, he just didn't ever get the idea of going to the right until round number 5. And that is a very interesting thing, because towards the end of round 5, when we finally saw Alex Pereira take a step to the right, something incredible happened. He found out that Magomed Ankalaev is standing in a square stance. He caught him with a straight and caught him with a very stiff jab that landed very clean on Magomed Ankalaev. But this is when Magomed Ankalaev became smart, because after those 2 consecutive punches landed, he went for a takedown. He didn't go for a takedown, but he was able to control Alex Pereira on the fence for the majority of the round. And I think that was the main thing that gave him the win in this fight. I don't think that Magomed Ankalaev, did the most damage, if I'm being completely honest. 20% of all the strikes that landed for Magomed Ankalaev were off the clinch. For those of you guys out there that have been to a Muay Thai class, more specifically an MMA class, because of the context of the clinch, whenever you guys are against the cage and they're landing like these little baby jabs, these little baby hooks on you, they don't have the most significant damage, if I'm being honest. They're more to pester your opponent. If we're talking about strictly damage in this fight, I am 100% convinced that Alex Pereira did more damage overall over Magomed Ankalaev, if I'm just being completely freaking honest. Yes, Magomed Ankalaev, in terms of the MMA, the sport, did a lot better, with controlling Alex Pereira and whatnot. But I just don't agree with the fact that people said, or people are saying right now on the internet, that Magomed Ankalaev had a dominant performance, because I just don't agree with that. I don't think that he had a dominant performance. He shot for a lot of takedowns, didn't get not single one, landed 20% of his strikes off the clinch, which, like I said, don't really do too much damage. They're really just there to pester his opponents. So on the technicality and on points, yes, Magomed Ankalaev, depending on who you ask, won the fight. But again, depending on who you ask, you might say that Alex Pereira got robbed, which is kind of the side that I'm leaning towards a little bit. In terms of the outcome, man, I'm really disappointed. I 100% think that John Jones is going to relinquish his heavyweight title. The next fight for him was Alex Pereira. It wasn't going to be Tom Aspinall. It was Alex Pereira, and that was supposed to be the mega fight, the fight that was going to sell thousands and millions and billions of pay-per-view buys. That was going to be the next big thing for this generation of UFC. And unfortunately, Magomed Ankalaev ruined all that for me, ladies and gentlemen. Magomed Ankalaev is probably gonna be a not the biggest fan favorite, if I'm just being completely honest. The only freaking people that wanted Magomed Ankalaev to win were the people that live in the other side of the freaking world. Everybody else, literally everybody else in the world, wanted Alex Pereira to win this matchup. Really disappointed with Alex Pereira's performance. Like I said, it wasn't with anything that Alex Pereira's performance did tonight that pretty much he fought the same way he fights in every fight, but unfortunately is just not a conventional versus conventional fighter. If it was a conventional versus conventional fighter, I would 100% think that Alex Pereira would have had a better chance at winning this fight. Unfortunately, it wasn't. It was against a southpaw, and granted, I mean not Alex, but Magomed Ankalaev, did pretty well. I even tweeted this a couple of days ago. Magomed Ankalaev's best attributes is decision making. He has above average decision making and repositioning off disengagements. And that is exactly what Magomed Ankalaev was able to do. The way he was able to press Alex Pereira was because he was landing counters that were backing Alex Pereira up, forcing Alex Pereira to reposition, and made it look like Magomed Ankalaev was the one pressuring. But no, it was actually Alex Pereira repositioning. Like I said, this is an open stance fight, and it's the number one thing that people are not mentioning. Alex Pereira does not know how to fight against southpaws, and that is his biggest mistake now. He needs to go to a high-level coach, a coach that knows about positioning, and teach Alex Pereira how to fight against a southpaw that knows how to use his positioning to his advantage, because Alex Pereira is the better striker. He is the better striker. If he could literally just use concepts, right, on repositioning and positioning overall and macro in the octagon, he could definitely 100% beat Magomed Ankalaev.